There's a combination of large biopharmaceutical companies and smaller biotechs that are working on either antivirals, which treat the disease, COVID-19, or vaccines, which can one day hopefully protect against this new coronavirus strain. On the vaccine front, you have major biopharma players ranging from Johnson & Johnson to GlaxoSmithKline to France's Sanofi, who are all trying to create vaccines. There's also smaller biotechnologies working on the same sort of development, including Inovio and Moderna. An antiviral might be further along in the development process, whereas a vaccine takes a much longer time to develop.
So we need to make sure it's safe, and we need to make sure it works. That entire process will take at least a year and a half. So when we hear talk about a vaccine's going to be ready in a couple of months, it won't be ready for being deployed. It's going to take a while.
The Food and Drug Administration has something called a compassionate use protocol, where in cases of emergency, a drug that hasn't technically been approved can still be given to people who are really, really sick. The biggest example of this during the coronavirus outbreak is Gilead's remdesivir, which was originally developed as a treatment for other forms of coronavirus that have occurred in the past, such as SARS and MERS. And so it's proven that it is at the very least safe and potentially effective, which is why federal officials have been willing to deploy this in the current coronavirus crisis.
We should know within a period of a few months, several months, whether or not this particular drug works. If it does, the implementation of that would be almost immediate.
Gilead's drug, remdesivir, has already been used on a compassionate use basis across China, Italy, and the United States, specifically in Washington State, which has had the most number of fatalities related to coronavirus in the United States. Gilead's treatment may be making its way across the clinical trial process fairly rapidly, but we're not going to receive more comprehensive data about whether or not the treatment works until at least May, according to the CDC. Gilead's stock has certainly been benefiting from all the buzz around remdesivir. However, it's a more open question how much revenue they will ultimately make if this treatment is approved by the FDA for widespread use. Because, face it, there's going to be a lot of groups who say that this treatment should be available for free to anyone who has this disease.
If there's a cure for coronavirus, this might be it. In Seattle, US researchers have given the first shot of an experimental vaccine developed in record time.
Everybody's feeling so helpless right now, and I realized that there was something that I could do to help, and I'm excited to be here.
But it could still take a year to have something for universal use. Back in Washington, the president announced dramatic new steps to reduce the chance of spreading the disease.
My administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in schooling from home when possible, avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
The president gave himself 10 out of 10 for his handling of the crisis, but there was a warning from the man spearheading the medical response in the US.
If you think you're here, you're really here because you're only getting the results. Therefore, it will always seem that the best way to address it would to be doing something that looks like it might be an overreaction.
And state governors, even Republicans, are urging the federal government to do more.
This is going to be much harder, take much longer, and be much worse than almost anyone is currently understanding.
Across the country, many cities and states have already instructed bars and restaurants to close, but people are gathering in grocery stores and supermarkets trying to stock up on food and essential supplies.
Everyone, I think, is just in a bit of panic and, it's scary.
Drive-through testing facilities have begun to spring up in more locations. The administration hopes to have 1.9 million tests available by the end of the week. But the president says the impact of this will last long into the summer.
Thank you all very much.
Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, Washington.